Hi kids, let's start with the next part in the skeletal and muscular system. So first we are going to see what is a joint. So a place where two or more bones fit together is called a joint. I repeat, a place where two or more bones fit together is called a joint. So if you move your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your knee or your ankle, you can understand that all the joints are present in these places. Next part is ligaments. So ligaments, they are strong bands of fiber-like structures. So what are ligaments? They are strong bands of fiber-like structures. Their main function is that they hold the bones together and control the movement of bones. Please remember, ligaments hold the bones together and control the movement of bones. Okay, we will see the next part, that is cartilage. So it is stiff but flexible substance. I repeat, cartilage is stiff but flexible substance. Meaning of stiff, it is firm and difficult to move. So please remember, cartilage is stiff but flexible substance. At the joints where the bones rub against each other, they are supported by cartilage. Please remember, at the joints where these bones rub against each other, they are supported by cartilage. The main function of cartilage is to protect the joints and facilitate movement. So the cartilage, it protects the joints and facilitates movement. Now next part what we have to study is types of joints. There are two types of joints, immovable joints and movable joints. Immovable, the word itself tells us that we cannot move these joints, while movable joints, the joints which we can move. So immovable joints, they are found in the joints of cranium, that is in the skull, ribs, that is in the chest, and bones of girdle. So you know, shoulder girdle and hip girdle. So there, these joints which are found, you cannot move them. While the joints which are found in wrist, ankle, fingers, neck, all these joints we can move. So they are called movable joints. Okay, now I'll see about movable joints in detail because there are 4 types of joint in them. Now please remember, in movable joints, they contain a lubricating liquid to reduce the friction between the bones. Okay, if you have seen some machines or even your cycle, you always apply oil over the chain or the parts which rub against each other. So in that case, oil is a lubricating liquid. So in case of movable joints, please remember they contain a lubricating liquid to reduce the friction between the bones. The muscles attached to the joint contract and relax simultaneously to allow movement. So just having bones, it will not help. The movement will be allowed by the muscles which are attached to the joint, and they continuously contract and relax simultaneously to allow the movement. Now there are 4 types of movable joints. They are the pivot joint, the ball and socket joint, the sliding or gliding joint, and the hinge joint. Now please remember, the pivot joint, it is found between the head and first 2 vertebrae of the spine. It means the neck. Then ball and socket joint, it is found in the shoulder and hip girdles. The sliding or the gliding joint, it is found in ankle or the wrist, and the hinge joint is found in the knee, elbow or fingers. Now we are going to see each joint in detail. Now let's study the first movable joint, that is the pivot joint. Please remember, the pivot joint is found between the head and first 2 vertebrae of the spine. Please remember the location of pivot joint. It is found between the head and first 2 vertebrae of the spine. The movement or the type of movement which pivot joint helps is, it helps in the movement of our head in upward, downward and sideways direction. Please remember, the pivot joint facilitates the movement of our head in upward, downward and sideways direction. As I said, the pivot joint is situated between the head and the first two vertebrae of the spine. I repeat, the pivot joint is situated between the head and the first two vertebrae of the spine. Now, the pivot joint helps in the movement of the head downward, upward and sideways. I repeat, the pivot joint helps in the movement of the head downward, upward and sideways. The next joint which we have to study is the ball and socket joint. So the ball and socket joint, it is found in shoulders and in hips. Please remember the location. Ball and socket joint is found in the shoulders and hips. So it allows circular movement. Please remember, ball and socket joint, it allows circular movement. Now what is ball and socket joint? So here one bone that ends in a ball fits into the socket or hollow of other bone. This is a kind of ball and socket joint. So there is one ball which will fit into the socket of another bone. Now in case of shoulders, the long bone ends in a ball and fits into the socket of the shoulder blade. So the long bone, it will end in a ball and it will fit into the socket of the shoulder blade. While in case of hips, the femur ends in a ball and fits into the socket of the hip bone. So please remember, the femur is a long bone which will have a ball at its one end and it will fit into the socket of the hip bone. The ball and socket joint is found in the shoulder and in the hip. I repeat, the ball and socket joint is found in the shoulder and in the hips. Now please remember, the long bone has a ball which fits into the socket of the shoulder blade. While in case of hips, the long bone, that is a femur, it will have a ball which will fit into the socket of the hip bones. Now please remember, the ball and socket joints facilitates the circular movement of the bones. It facilitates the circular movement of the bones. Okay kids, let's start with the third type of joint, that is sliding. It is also called as gliding or planar joints. It is located in the wrist, ankle, vertebrae of backbone. Movement. It allows small sliding movements. Gliding joints allows the bones to glide past one another in any direction. Please remember, these joints allow the bones to glide past one another in any direction along the plane of the joint, up and down, left and right and diagonally. So please remember, these joints, they allow to move up and down, left and right and diagonally. It allows the back to bend, twist and turn. As these gliding joints are present in the vertebrae of backbone, it allows the back to bend, twist and turn. The gliding joints are situated in the vertebrae of the backbone. It allows the back to bend, twist and turn. I repeat, the gliding joints which are situated in the vertebrae of the back allows the back to bend, twist and turn. So kids, we have studied up till now 3 joints. The first was pivot joint. The second one was ball and socket joint. The third was gliding joint. And now we're going to study the last type of joint, that is hinge joint. Please remember, the hinge joint is situated in the knee, elbow, finger and toe. movement. This type of joint allows movements of bones in only one direction. Please remember, it allows the movement of bones in only one direction. So usually bones move back and forth and increase their angle up to 180 degrees. So if you have seen the hinge in the door, have you seen the hinges in the door? How the hinges help to move the door in only one direction? Either you can close it or open it. In a similar way, this type of joint helps the movement of bones in only one direction. As I said, in hinge joint, this is an example of a laptop and this is the hinge. This is the hinge, okay? So what does hinge do? It connects a fixed surface to a movable surface. So you can see that we can open this only in one direction. So one bone will move in one direction and while the other bone will be fixed. Hi kids, as we have seen that the hinge joint is found in the elbow, the fingers of your hands, the knee and the toes. So the hinge joint allows movement of the bones only in one direction. So if you see here, this bone, it remains stable and this one can move because of the hinge joint that is situated in the elbow. So please remember, hinge joint allows movement only in one direction, that is of the elbow and the fingers as well as the knee and the toes.